Imagine being told that you are better off poor, cold, hungry, and living on tree bark in the truth, meaning the Watchtower Society, than being independent and financially well off outside this religion. If you are new here, welcome to Tell Me Dr. K, a channel manipulative religious leaders wish you never discover. I'm Dr. K, a theologian, consultant, and polemist. If you crave for deep dives like this one, subscribe and smash the notice bell for more. This is the most shocking and outrageous talks ever presented on JW Broadcasting. Now, that's not satire. That's not a joke. That's not an exaggeration. That is the direct teaching shared by Stephen Lett, one of the high-ranking members of the governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses. By the end of this video, I am going to tell you the real reason, the motive behind this message.
But in their material prosperity, both sons fell out of the truth. The sister tearfully remarked, "I would rather be back in Siberia, eating the bark off trees to survive, but with my two sons still in the truth."
Today we are going to break down this teaching, why it was said, and what Stephen Lett and the whole governing body was trying to put across to the members, why it matters, and what it reveals about the priorities of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania. This is not an accidental speech. This is a pattern. It's a thread that is shared consistently in many, if not most, of the JW Broadcasting. It's a pattern of manipulation, guilt, and fear that has shaped millions of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, this is not a sudden presentation. This is a well-articulated and calculated system of mind control. I just did a video the other day about how the Jehovah's Witnesses accidentally disclosed their mind control systems in their effort to showcase their meticulous planning system of events and midweek meetings. I'll leave a link at the end of this video so that you can be able to watch that mind-opening analysis of how the Jehovah's Witnesses have developed a sophisticated method of controlling members such that members cannot think outside what the governing body is telling them to do. And this talk is one of those revelations of how sophisticated this mind control system is that has been refined by the governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Let's begin with what Stephen Lett taught in a talk entitled, "Beware of the Power of Materialism." In this presentation, Stephen Lett discusses a sister who was exiled in Siberia. They were so poor, so cold, and so hungry that they survived on the tree bark. And yet, in his words, they were happy because they were in the truth. Let's listen to Stephen Lett as he presents this testimonial.
A small number of Jehovah's people today are being distracted by materialism. So since this is not an imagined, but it's a real danger to Jehovah's people, let's discuss the theme, beware of the power of materialism. I recall the story of a sister and her two sons who were exiled to Siberia. Now, they were very poor. In fact, they were so poor, at times they had to literally eat the bark off trees to survive. But they were happy because they were all in the truth. But years passed, and the three of them had opportunity to immigrate to the United States. The two sons got excellent jobs, high-paying jobs as machinists, but in their material prosperity, both sons fell out of the truth. The sister tearfully remarked, "I would rather be back in Siberia, eating the bark off trees to survive, but with my two sons still in the truth."
And that quote is an emotional anchor to the entire message. This is more than a touching story. It is a tactic. Lett is presenting a choice: stay loyal and suffer in poverty, or become successful and fall away from God. He frames material comfort as spiritually dangerous. In fact, he calls materialism Satan's most effective trap. It may well be that Satan's most effective trap against Jehovah's people in these last days is materialism. Here's Stephen Lett again.
Well, numerous other experiences could be related that illustrate the power of materialism. In fact, it may well be that Satan's most effective trap against Jehovah's people in these last days is materialism. But now you might be thinking, well, isn't sexual immorality by far the number one cause for disfellowshipping? That's true. But we don't have figures for ones who fall away to materialism. They're not disfellowshipped. Well, at least we can say that materialism is one of Satan's most effective tools or traps against Jehovah's people today.
Now, that's not a small statement. Now, of all evils in the world, why only pick on materialism? Why single out people who want to improve the quality of their life, to live out of constant stress and bills, not to feel guilt about buying something nice? And here is a kicker. He tells the audience, none of us is immune. In other words, he is saying, what happens to those sons of the sister could happen to you. You are also prone to falling out of the truth because of wanting comfort. The implication here is clear. If you are comfortable, if you are ambitious, if you are building a better life, you might be spiritually compromised. This is control through simplicity. Let's unpack the deeper message here. Now, Stephen Lett doesn't just caution against materialism, he pushes an extreme that even simple personal upgrades are suspect. He shares an old example of buying a drill, then wanting a better drill, and then realizing he was falling into Satan's trap just for wanting a drill with a flashlight. Here's Steve.
In fact, that makes me think of the story a circuit overseer told many years ago. I was a young teenager. That was over 50 years ago. He and his wife lived in a little trailer they would park by the Kingdom Hall. And he told in one of his talks how he bought a drill to do work on his trailer. But then shortly after he bought this drill, they came out with a reversible drill. And he thought, well, that'd be nice to have a reversible drill. It would be much easier to extract the drill bit out of the hole. So he bought a reversible drill. Shortly after that, they came out with a reversible drill, had a little light on it. You pull the trigger, a little light would come on, and he thought, that would be really nice. My drill doesn't have a little light on it. He was about ready to buy this latest model, and then he said, wait a minute, what am I doing? How often am I going to be drilling at night? But he told that to illustrate how that materialism can get a hold on any of us. He was being manipulated by Satan's system.
How often am I going to be drilling at night? Now, this is meant to be a humorous statement. The message is that desiring anything beyond the bare minimum is dangerous. He builds on this metaphor about staying in a hotel. He says you wouldn't want to redo the carpet because you are there for a very short period of time. And he says we are going to check out of this old system. We are going to check into the new world. So we keep it simple. We are temporary residents.
And let's get this first Bible principle really can help us. Micah 7, verse 7, but as for me, I will keep on the lookout for Jehovah. Now notice, I will show a waiting attitude for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me. Or the footnote, I will wait patiently. See, are we willing to wait patiently on Jehovah? This certainly applies to material things. Jehovah, in effect, is telling us today, I'm giving you a spiritual paradise right now. Be content with that. Don't try to get your physical paradise now. I'll give you that later. But the question is, are we willing to wait on Jehovah? See? Or do we, in effect, run ahead of him and try to acquire physical paradisiac conditions for ourselves right now at the expense of spiritual activity? Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 says there's an appointed time for everything. Well, Jehovah's appointed our time, especially these last days of the last days, shortly before the last day of this old system, not as a time to seek and spend time acquiring physical comforts, but rather as a time to beautify the spiritual paradise and help others join us in this paradise.
This is a well-articulated and calculated system of mind control.
But what about today? How does Satan tempt us today? Well, Satan may try to offer us tempting opportunities to enjoy material things. Again, Satan takes a truth and twists it into a lie. The truth is that Jehovah has promised all of us an abundance of material things in the new system. But for us to receive those blessings, we need to do Jehovah's will, we need to endure the hardships of the last days, and yes, we need to wait. We have to wait for Jehovah's appointed time to experience the complete fulfillment of these promises. So Satan tries to twist this truth by saying, in the new system, you'll have everything you want materially. But why wait? Just take a shortcut. Skip the self-sacrifice. You could have your own little paradise right now. Well, as he did with Jesus, Satan may tempt us with the desire of the eyes. He may show us material things. It could be in the forms of advertisements showing us material products, advertising travel, whatever the case, things that claim to make us happy. Or Satan may appeal to our pride, offering us a measure of authority or power or glory when it comes to the system of things. It could be a lucrative career, something that helps us to sustain a lavish lifestyle, again, chasing after the desire of the eyes.
No wonder at 1 Peter 1:1 and 2:11, God's people are described as temporary residents. And it's real protection if we think of ourselves that way, temporary residents. Now, the illustration has been used of staying in a hotel room. Now, you know when you're in a hotel room, you're a temporary resident. You might do a few things to make your stay more comfortable. You might rearrange the chairs. You might reposition the lamps. You might buy some flowers, put it on a table. You might spray some air freshener. But you would never rip off the wallpaper and install new wallpaper. You'd never rip up the carpet, install new carpet or tile. You wouldn't buy new furniture. You'd keep it simple because you know you're going to be checking out. Now, even if you ended up staying a few months in that hotel room, especially if you didn't know exactly when you're going to have to check out, you would still keep it simple. Well, that describes our situation. We're going to check out of this old system. We're going to check into the new world. We don't know exactly when, but you know it's soon. So we keep it simple. We're temporary residents.
Now, God has given us a lifespan. All of us, the Bible says, our days are engraved on God's palms. And you have to make better use of that lifespan. No one knows when they are going to die. You may die young, you may die old. What if you have a simple life, you can't even take care of yourself, you don't prepare for the future, and you grow too old? Now, the problem with this analogy is that members should disengage in improving their lives in a meaningful way. By the end of this video, I am going to tell you the real reason, the motive behind this message. You have to watch up to the end to actually know the real intention of this teaching. Not the things that I've talked about. Those are merely on the surface. But the real reason, I disclose it at the end. Now, what is funny is we are talking about an organization, a religious entity that is filth rich. A filth rich religious entity that is promoting poverty. The same organization that tells members to remain poor is sitting on a massive fortune. How shocking. Over the past decade, the Watchtower Society has sold off prime properties worth billions of dollars all over the world, wherever they've had their properties, in Europe, in America, and even in Asia.
The branch committee contacted 4 of us to set up a team to do the move out from Brooklyn to Warwick.
Now it became the reality of completely clearing out, and I mean, that's everything. That was a pretty daunting thing, because when people want to buy your properties, they want to take possession right away.
There are 6 buildings that are connected through tunnels underground, and so if a buyer is not interested in purchasing multiple buildings, the sale of the properties are going to disconnect those tunnels.
New York City law requires we fill those up with concrete. We didn't anticipate that. Once we fill those tunnels, that cuts off the utilities to the rest of the buildings. So how do you heat the other buildings? How do you keep their electricity, their communication going? When can you shut it off? When will the people be moving? Those are all the logistics that came into question and that we had to work through. When we look at the work, it's like an iceberg. 16 properties empty, 1.6 million square feet, over 2,000 individuals to get moved out in 13 months. Take that and look at 70 departments and you start to get a picture of the growth of the job already.
The Brooklyn headquarters alone, some sources say all properties combined and the Jehovah's Witnesses, $2 billion plus. They now own a luxurious headquarters in Warwick, New York. They operate a vast media publication operation. One member of my video, the one I just mentioned, how Jehovah's Witnesses accidentally exposed their mind control system, he said their TV production facilities are more advanced than that of NASA. I don't know why he used NASA. It's one of the most advanced media operations in the world. And unfortunately, none of this is transparent to the members. There are no open books, there are no detailed financial reports. And yet the same poor members, the same members who are encouraged to remain poor, not to get a university education that lowers your chances of earning meaningful income, not to aspire for high-paying jobs, because that would be spiritually dangerous to you, that might be materialism. The same organization is demanding that members contribute more and more and more, and that the little that they have, they should leave that small estate to the organization.
Millions of dollars are required each month to finance the colossal kingdom work that is being supported by this organization in some 239 lands. Where does all of the financial support come from? Largely from you, dear brothers and sisters. Most funds come from what you voluntarily put in the contribution box in your kingdom hall. Yes, that little box with a slot that is labeled worldwide work is primarily what finances all of the theocratic initiatives that have been implemented. Sometimes we may feel a little shy to talk about the financial needs of the organization. That is understandable, because we in no way want to be categorized with other organizations, religious and otherwise, that coerce their supporters to donate. However, because all of us have the privilege to donate funds, we would like to let you know something about our current situation. Then you can respond as your heart impels you.
This is an organization that milks members to the bone. And yet members are constantly told to donate more, to simplify, to give up vacations, college, and many other things. Isn't it convenient that the poorer the members stay, the richer the organization becomes? If you want to know my final conclusion, the real reason why Stephen Lett and the governing body presented this talk, watch part 2. If you are enjoying this video, kindly do me a favor, like, subscribe, and smash the notice bell so that every time I upload a new video, you will receive a notification. If you believe that somebody else would benefit from this video, kindly share it with him or her. You can share with as many people as you want. To watch the video I mentioned about how the Jehovah's Witnesses leadership accidentally and intentionally exposed their mind control system, click on this link. To watch other videos that I've done on Jehovah's Witnesses, click on this link.